Welcome to the Flourish with Neural Retraining podcast. I'm your host, Madeline Lowry, founder of Twin Cities Neural Retraining and a certified MAP method practitioner specializing in anxiety, sensitivities, and chronic symptoms and conditions. Join me for episode 75, where we hear from Jelena Katić Ujević, MAP coach and trainer for the MAP Coaching Institute, about her new program for emotional and physical weight. Hear about the insights she gained by working with clients to achieve weight loss by processing unresolved, painful emotions. Learn more about the role of the stress response in weight gain and loss, and why loving yourself may be the necessary precursor to making healthier choices. As always, we must disclaim that the information we share in the podcast is for educational purposes only. As MAP method practitioners, we do not diagnose or treat disease. Instead, we work with the mind to optimize health. Now, let's hear from Jelena. Well, Jelena, I am so excited to have you join me today on my podcast. It is a real pleasure to have you back, and today we're going to talk about some new work that you've developed, a new program called Neuro Reshape. And I think that everyone needs to know about this. So welcome, Jelena.
Thank you so much, Madeline, for having me again here and for letting me to spread my message. Thank you for that.
Yes. So, Jelena, the last time we talked, we were talking about a different program of yours, and it's been a couple of years now, I think. What led you to develop this program?
Yeah, so last time when we spoke, we were talking about the program I created for autoimmune and chronic conditions because I was inspired with my own MAP journey and how MAP helped me to release traumas from my body and literally change my life completely from being bed-driven 24/7 to be, you know, fully functional and going back to school and work and everything. And then a couple of years later, things happened in my life that led me to a really big increase in my weight, in my physical weight. But not only that, I felt that as much as I was giving outside and helping clients and then students, because as you know, I'm teaching for the institute, I felt like I completely neglected myself. And my emotional weight was so big and so heavy. So I felt like a combination of that emotional and physical weight really took a toll on my body and my mental health. And I've been struggling with my weight for my whole life and working with a couple of my clients, helping them release weight. But first of all, releasing emotional weight made me realize that, again, traumas can be stored in the body, not anymore as autoimmune and chronic conditions, but even before that, it could be stored as a excess weight. And no matter what you eat, no matter what supplements you're using, no matter what exercising programs you are doing, nothing is helping, and you're actually increasing your weight even more. So that was the whole point of me doing another research and finally developing a program that will help a person release emotional and physical weight.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think most people would be surprised to hear that, well, emotional weight needs to be released first. And what is emotional weight? Like, how would you describe that?
Emotional weight would be anything that is preventing you to move forward. And if you're talking about it from an aspect of me being a therapist, it's more about traumas that we experience, especially when we were children, but not maybe even traumas. It can be any emotional experience that you experienced during your lifetime that you did not deal with, that you didn't process in a way that we teach you or we are helping you to process it. And what happens when we don't take care of that part of ourselves is the body starts to be included. There are mechanisms in our body that starts to be, triggered and then developed later on, and that is how the whole cycle is being completed. While where the emotional weight is influencing the physical weight, and then the physical weight is again influencing the emotional state, and so on. So we are in this cycle that it's really hard to break, and that's why no diets or exercises are helping in that point.
Mm. So yeah, I think this is probably one of the most unique aspects of your program, right? Because most people who try to lose weight enroll in programs that are about lifestyle change. They're about controlling the eating, or being on a diet, or counting calories, or restricting, or increasing exercise, or both. Those are the main strategies that I think we look at as Western societies when we want to lose weight.
Yes.
I think most people would be surprised to hear that there is an emotional component. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about what led you to understand this. I mean, this is very obvious to us as MAP practitioners, but I think for most people,
Yes.
it's new. This is really new. This is a new dimension to understanding
Yes.
why they can't shed the weight. So, yeah, any help that you can offer us to put that together.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. On a paper, having calorie deficit and increasing how much you spend during the day and how much you exercise equals your ideal weight. And the premises of my research and later on the program was what is happening when you are doing everything that is on that paper, when you are eating well, when you are taking your supplements, when you are, taking your herbs, when you are exercising, when you are sweating and doing intensive workouts, and the body is actually doing the opposite. You're gaining more weight. And before I continue, I want to highlight that I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a fitness instructor, but like I said, from my personal journey, struggling with this for more than 20 years, I witnessed how the emotional state influenced my body state. So even though I was in calorie deficit and I was doing everything that was on a piece of paper that would promise me that I would lose weight, my body was actually doing the opposite. So this is what is happening when we are under stress, when something emotional happens to us. It can be something that we would consider trauma, but even something emotional like stress of the day, there are systems in our bodies that are being triggered, and those are called systematic and parasystematic processes. And in the first process, what is happening is that your body is naturally producing cortisol and adrenals, and you're maybe sweating and your heart is racing, you feel nervous, and we could call that being in a fight and flight mode. This is something that we have been carrying with us ever since ages, since we were developed as humans, right? And its purpose is to protect us when we are in danger. And then what is happening afterwards is that the parasystematic syndrome is happening, this phenomenon where everything starts to slow down, where the system is being triggered and you feel more relaxed. The heart is, being relaxed, pumping is easier, you're not sweating anymore, you're not shaking. So it creates like a cycle where you feel like you're nervous and everything's happening, everything is really highlighted for you, and then the nervous system is balancing that for that. So that's how it is happening in a normal person. But what happens when you live in your traumas for a really long time? What happens when you're under stress for a really long time? It happens that those two systems are not working properly anymore, and the parasympathetic system cannot run anymore. And the first phase of that fight and flight is always active. And when it's always active, what happens with the system is that your cortisol, which is a stress hormone, is elevated. And then it triggers the how the insulin and glucoses in your system are being triggered. There's so many researchers that are saying what happens when body's under stress, where you can literally see the spikes before the meeting with a person, like it literally goes in heavens. And when you are in that state for a really long time, what happens is that your body doesn't have any choice, right? If your cortisol is up, if your glands are not working properly, if your glucoses and your insulin are up, it means that it stores everything that you eat. It doesn't use it as energy. Your thyroid is also reacting. And then again, you're in this cycle where your body is now starting to react. We need to protect ourselves. And when there is an increase of these hormones, the body is naturally storing more fat in you instead of spending it. And then even a simple cardio exercise in your body is being perceived, oh, this is danger. I'm under stress. So I'm going to, produce even more cortisol and even more glucose and even more insulin, which leads again, instead of you losing weight, you're actually gaining weight. So like I said, when I was doing the research, I was thinking, okay, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a fitness instructor. How can I help my clients? And I said, well, okay, my premises is if this is how the system is working when we are under stress, what happens if we neutralize stress? And this is where MAP is coming along. As you may know, when you release something during the session, your body's following as well. You're noticing that your client feel more relaxed, they're more grounded. There's no that heaviness, there's no heart racing, sweating, or having different symptoms, within the body. And that's exactly what I did. The research on how and what happens if we release the emotional weight, will the physical weight follow as well?
Yeah, so thank you for taking the time to explain that. I am actually trained as a nutritional therapy practitioner, though mostly when I work with weight, often I see the other side of the picture. It's the clients who can't gain weight. They're
Mm,
chronically ill for a long time, or they have a lot of food sensitivities. There's a lot of fear around food, and they're having trouble putting weight on, keeping it on.
yes.
They're severely underweight. But anyway, I appreciate your description, right, of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic modes of the autonomic nervous system. And this is the most basic wiring that we have as human beings. It's been around since Paleo man, was first evolved. And these are systems that are kind of hardwired into us. When we're stuck in a stress response, nothing good is happening in the body. I mean, unless you really do need to run away from that tiger. And the problem with our modern lifestyle is that we are under stress. We can be under stress for a really extended part of each day. Stress at work, traffic, that bill that you can't pay, relationship issues. There can be a lot of reasons for stress. But as you said, you talked about trauma early in life. And this is really important for people to understand, because when we are young, this is when the nervous system is developing its patterns, right? This is when these patterns are being created. And I do think that for people who experience painful emotional events when they are young, their nervous system is wired differently. Their response to stress is changed. And so they fall into this category that you described of the person who's it's just that much easier for them to slip into that sympathetic dominant state.
Yes.
It takes less stress than maybe the next person for them to be in fight or flight or freeze for longer periods of time, right? It takes longer for their system to kind of be able to resolve that, the criticism at work or the bad interaction. I once had a client who, she wasn't seeing me for weight issue, it was more of a blood sugar issue. And she was working with a functional medicine practitioner who had her put on a monitor, blood sugar
Hmm.
monitor. So she was wearing this thing that was showing her a continuous readout of her blood sugar. And she was telling me, she's like, it's the weirdest thing. I ate my meal, I was fine. And then, like an hour later, someone approached me and we were having this conversation. And that's when my blood sugar spiked. And I said, yes, that is because that interpersonal interaction for you is very stressful.
Yes.
Her functional medicine practitioner was trying to figure out what in her diet was
Yes.
causing these extreme changes in blood sugar. And it's, I mean, of course, it could be about the food, but when you, as you said, if you're eating a good diet, clean diet, you should, and you're still having these extreme fluctuations, we need to be thinking about what is going on in the mind.
Yes. And not only that, I think most of us were raised where our parents didn't know how to help us cope with our emotions. They didn't teach us that it is okay to feel, to experience some emotions, right? To process them. And then when you are living that, from early age when your core needs are not met and you don't know how to experience an emotion, how to verbalize and how to process it, that's exactly what is happening in your adult life. Like you just said, you're having an interaction with another person and you don't know how to react, but your body knows. And it says, well, this is our flight and fight mode. Let's go. Let's engage everyone. And then that's what she could see, that glucose spike just because of that, because all of the systems were being triggered. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about the research that you've done with this program and how it's been working for people?
Yes. So in 2022, around summer, I had a couple of clients who wanted to work on weight. And as I was struggling with my weight at that moment, I really didn't know what to offer them, right? There was like a sense of imposter syndrome. I'm here to help you, but and again, I'm dealing with the same thing. And I was being honest with them, and I said the only thing that I can help you with is to release the emotional weight, and then we can see what is going to happen with the body. And to my surprise, all of them started to lose weight. And the only thing that I did was a map session on some traumatic events that happened to them. And it was really incredible. So I talked with the Institute and I suggested them my idea to do research on how releasing traumas ever since we were conceived up to today, or even before that, if a person resonates with generation traumas, could help a person to release physical weight. And they agreed, which was really amazing. So I did research from June 2022 until December the same year with more than 600 participants in 3 different rounds. Some people were part of the MAP programs before, so they already experienced the process itself, and some of them never ever had a MAP session. And it was really amazing that only with clearing traumas and emotional responses, we were actually teaching the body systems how to recognize an emotion, how to process it in a safe way with MAP. And the body was, we were teaching the body again to take over that natural course of fight and flight, releasing and calming down, and then cycling down whenever is needed. And to my surprise, there were people who experienced such a profound shifts in terms of emotional weight, things that they felt like they dealt before in different therapies or in different settings, and people who experienced such a profound shift in releasing physical weight. There were people who lost, in every round was like about 2 months, and there were people who lost 5, 10, 20. There was a lady who lost more than 40 pounds in 2 months just by being part of the research. And if you ask me, the best part of the research was listening to subliminal. And I know we already talked about it the last time when we discussed about it. And subliminal is just a map session put in a subliminal format so you don't hear my voice, so you can relax and do whatever you do during the day, so your mind is not consciously resisting to anything that I'm saying in that session. And that was their only obligation, to listen to the subliminal and to see what will happen. And to my surprise, changes were out of this world.
And how long are these subliminal audio files? Like, how much time were they spending listening each day?
Well, that was optional. They needed to submit a form before and after, so they would share what they did. Some people listened to it only a couple of times per week. Some of them listened to it once daily, and some of them listened to it a couple of times per day. We had different sounds. As the research progressed, I added more sounds. The content of the subliminal was the same, but it really depended on the person. And from my experience from what I could see from the data is that people who listen to subliminals more often obviously experience more shifts, because in my case in the research, subliminal replaces about 8 to 10 hours of map sessions. So you can imagine how many sessions that is. If you're listening to it only once per day, that's equivalent of maybe 4 to 5 full map sessions. That's a lot of work, in terms of emotional weight. So of course, the more you listen, the better response it was, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. So can you describe the kind of stages of transformation that the participants were reporting? I mean, what were they reporting even prior to weight changing?
Yes. So before they entered the research, like I said, they needed to fill out the form to see where they are, what is their impression of why they're holding this physical weight, like what is it that is preventing them to release it, because they already did everything before. And most of the people were severely traumatized before starting the research. A lot of people were, especially women, they were sexually abused, and they created this belief system that it is not safe for them to look pretty, to look handsome, to have nice clothes, right? And there were people who thought that they don't deserve that because that's how they grew up. They don't deserve anything. They're not worthy of anything. So why would they deserve or be worthy of this perfect body they imagine? And what happened once they entered the research, first of all, there was a sense of peace with whatever is happening in their life and whatever is happening with them and who they are as people, right? Because as we go on through our life, we feel like there's some things that we shouldn't have done and we didn't, or we did them but maybe we didn't mean to do them. So there's a lot of grief or a lot of expectations that we impose on ourselves. And that first phase felt like people were really releasing that. The second phase, it felt like they were releasing the emotional weight. All those traumas, all that pain and grief and anger and sadness, all those unsupporting beliefs they had was released. And then as a result of that, the body started to follow. But from my amazement, what happened, and I never ever said a word in subliminal about that, or I was, like I said, I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not a fitness instructor, so I was not pushing that. All of them naturally started to choose healthier food, started to maybe cook for themselves, naturally started to take care of themselves better, creating better boundaries with in relationships with their friends, partners, job, whatever. And all of them had the need to move their bodies. That was really interesting. Like people who didn't move their body for ages, decades, they started to move their body. So we were joking a little bit for the third round because there were people who were part of the first, second, and third round. At third round, I added like a disco subliminal, like an hour and a half of disco where you just dance and enjoy. So people felt like that was a good addition. Like, okay, I'll really release emotional weight, but I will also exercise while doing that. So that was like a cherry on the top for that.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, isn't that remarkable? Okay, how do you explain that to yourself, right? What was happening to these people that letting go of emotional weight, unresolved grief or shame or self-blame or whatever that was, sadness. I mean, what is it about doing that that leads to these healthier choices?
I would say that when we are not under stress and when we are not thinking about all the bad things in our life and all the things that we wanted to do but we didn't, and vice versa, um, I feel like our mind is being open. That's what we call in the map session rewiring. When we teach them how to magnetize and whatever they want to achieve, that's exactly what is happening after map session. As you know, map is described by science as part of neuroplasticity, which during a map session, there's something happening that we call window of overconsolidation. So whenever you're remembering something, either consciously or unconsciously, there's a phenomenon, if you want, happening where neurons are separating. That's why we can neutralize negative beliefs, emotions, or experiences. But then we can also rewrite our history, meaning that we can reinforce what we want to experience, what we want to believe, and what we want to feel. And that's exactly what was happening, you know, during that experience and during the research. We were first treating the emotional weight, everything that was not serving them, all the disempowering emotions and beliefs and experiences, everything that was holding emotional weight and physical weight, everything that the body was storing. And when they released that, their mind was being open to create whatever they want to create.
Yeah, that is the fantastic thing about MAP. I mean, no matter what you're doing the sessions for, it is a kind of a neutralization or clearing process that allows for reorganization in the direction that you want to go in. And so, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me why releasing a lot of those negative patterns would allow someone to change long-standing habits and behaviors, to change what they eat or how they cook for themselves or what they choose to do in their free time. That might be different than what they were doing before. And it's not about forcing yourself.
It happens naturally.
Yeah.
That was the best part. That
Yeah.
was the best part, that it happened naturally for them.
Mhm. Yeah. That's lovely. And so can you explain a little bit about the program and how it is structured? I heard you talking about stages. What does the program look like today? And what would someone who was interested in the program, who chose to participate, like what would it require? What is the regimen?
That's a good question. First, I want to encourage everyone who feels inspired and like this is their story and they feel like this is their cue to move forward, to definitely to sign up for the free preview where they can watch the workshop recording that I did recently and also test the program for the next 7 days. I cannot promise that you will lose weight in 7 days, but you will definitely feel how the emotional, weight is sliding off. That's for sure. And then after that, if you feel inspired, there's going to be a really good discount. I think we are offering 50% off for all the offers if you want to join. And there are two different versions. The first one is premium, that gives you obviously more content. You have different subliminals. There's one major that is helping to release this emotional weight, but there are also mini subliminals around, emotional eating, binging, attached emotions or feels whatsoever. There's tons of clearing and goal oriented sessions with different themes, taking care of yourself, taking care of whatever's basically happening in your life. And then from April 1st, we are starting with live weekly sessions. The community that is already created, because there are some people already who joined the program, is amazing. They're super supportive. And I feel like maybe that's something that what is missing when we're starting with these new decisions, that we need someone to push us a little bit, to hold, to hold us when we don't feel good. So that's everything that you will receive, joining the premium version. The basic version is the opposite. Is It's not for people who love systems. It's not for people who are looking for this approach where I'm coaching them during the program, where I'm guiding them. They're not looking, for maybe bigger support in terms of community. It's more for you to do it on your own pacing. You only have access to subliminals, couple of daily exercises, and that's it. Obviously, the main difference is the price, and then another difference is that with the premium you have a lifetime access. If you ever need to revisit the program or to start it again, you can do that, and the basic version is offering you 1 year access. But like I said before, starting with anything, I definitely want to encourage you to sign up for 7 days for free, where you can see everything that Madeline and I today discussed, visual format if you want, where I talk about it, where I show you different beautiful testimonials from participants from the research, and then you can learn maybe a little bit more about yourself and what is happening with your body.
Great. Yeah. So you just described two formats of this program. So the program is based on subliminals. That's sounds like the primary vehicle. Is that right?
Yeah, subliminal is always the primary, if you want, primary of all of my programs, because I know how powerful they are and how much you can release just in 20, 30 minutes, even though there's 8 or 10 hours compressed material in math sessions in that. But like I said, in the premium version, there's more content in terms of daily exercises, somatic exercises, and I think at this moment about 50 to 60 goal oriented and clearing sessions with a lot of mini map subliminals that you can listen on Go. And like I said, from April, you can join the live sessions, and we will do weekly as well.
Mm. Hmm. Okay. So for a person who is interested in this program, they should expect to at least spend half an hour a day listening to subliminals. Is that what the time commitment is, would you say?
Yes,
Or
and the
no?
best part of the subliminal is that you can play it and you can go jogging, you can sleep, you can do your daily chores. There's no limitations outside of driving because we don't want you to be so relaxed and to fall asleep while driving. But other than that, it literally, takes zero effort for you to play the subliminal and then do whatever you do during your day. And that's the best part because in the background, your subconscious is working on whatever needs to be done, and you do you and whatever you do during the day.
Yeah, so you could be answering emails, you could be reading, you could be washing the dishes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you could
Exactly.
go for a walk.
Exactly.
So, is there anything else you'd like us to know about this program?
I'm not sure. I feel like I can talk about this all day long because I identified with pre-story and then post-story, regarding this program so much because, like I said, this is something that I've been struggling for most of my life. And we're living in a society where everything is being perfect. You go on social media, you see perfect bodies, you see what I eat in a day to lose fat, or what exercises I do to have this perfect shape body and all of that. And I feel like we're so bombard with all those information that we are lost. And then when you start doing and implementing all of that, and when your body is not following because of the reasons that I said before, we feel discouraged. I know that I did. Like, you feel like you're doing everything that you should be doing to lose weight and nothing's happening. Your body's actually increasing the weight. And this is where MAP can really help you because there's so many researchers and some of I talk about some of them in the workshop recording, but you can find it online. You can find what's happening within your body once you release trauma and once you neutralize that. There's tons of research on how not only emotional state and mental health obviously is improving, but also the body health as well. So my message to everyone who's listening to this: do not give up on yourself, and there's always hope. And if you could spend next 7 days just listening to the subliminal and see what can happen and how you feel, that's the best gift that you can give to yourself. Even if you don't sign up for the program, doesn't matter. It will definitely give you that boost to move forward and to start fighting for yourself and speaking for yourself and doing exactly what you're meant to be. And we're not meant to be here to struggle and to suffer and to play small and to feel like we're not enough, that we're not worthy. We are the opposite. We're worthy of everything. And you are more than enough, and you can do whatever you imagine.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to how you described the research and what happened to the participants as they moved through the program. I guess overall we could say that they shifted from maybe not loving themselves to loving themselves and making better choices for themselves as a result. Is that fair?
Exactly. Exactly. Because when you don't love yourself, when you don't take care of your mental health, then you're not worthy of anything. You feel like you're not worthy of good relationships, so you stay in a relationship that is not serving you. You are staying in, I don't know, friendships that are not serving you. You are, staying at a job that you don't like. You are not maybe feeling encouraged or inspired to start your business. We're playing small and we keep hiding and we keep stuffing our emotions, sometimes with food as well. And then while, like I said, people going through the research feel that part of themselves. And they learn that whatever has to happen is happening inside of them, and they're taking the responsibility for that. Nothing external will make you happy as much as the internal, right? Because if you're satisfied with yourself, if your mental health is good, if you feel like you're worthy and enough and capable, then those are the, you know, those are the actions that you start implementing in your daily life.
Yeah, amazing. So the last question I had for you is, if there is someone, listening to this podcast who has tried everything, has tried every diet, every workout regimen, and feels really hopeless about being able to change, would such a person benefit from trying this program? And I think from
Absolutely.
everything you've said, this is really a different philosophy, a different angle on the problem completely. And it may just be the thing that you've missed in all of your efforts. The mind, the mind is a powerful thing.
Yes, exactly. Whoever is listening for the next 7 days, whoever is signing up for this free preview, I'm just asking you to be open minded. You don't have nothing to lose. It is free. It's not asking you for a credit card. It's not asking you to subscribe. You just sign up for it. Kajabi will create a little login for you in your library where you will be coming each day to play your subliminal or listen to other sessions that are part of the preview program as well. And just give yourself 7 days to try it, but really go full hearted in, test it, and then see what can happen. I can guarantee you that you will be satisfied.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Jelena, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today and to talk about this important program. I think weight is something that people struggle with, and it can be a lifelong struggle. And so many of the tools that we have to deal with weight are on the physical level. And while those can work for people, when those methods are not working for you, this is another way, another approach, a very distinctly different approach that, as you have shown, has worked for many. So thank you, Jelena, for developing this program.
You're welcome, and thank you for listening and for having me today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us for the Flourish with Neural Retraining podcast. Please listen again and remember to follow us and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, or Pandora. Learn more about Jelena's Neuro Reshape program and sign up for the 7-day free trial at mapcoachinginstitute.com under Our Programs. You can also check out our free courses about the MAP method and all of our MAP programs, including the MAP Introduction Program at mapforhealth.us, or schedule MAP sessions at tcneuralretraining.com. Until the next time, be well and flourish. Content of this podcast copyright 2024 by Twin Cities Neural Retraining. Music by Barbara Ben.